Now, ladies and gentlemen, for that, I pass the floor to the moderator of the session, Yang Berusaha Professor Dr. Ahmad Martada Muhammad, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Student Affairs and Alumni. The floor is yours, Prof.
Thank you, Mr. Syahadat. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam biru warna, salam Malaysia Madani. Terima kasih kepada semua para hadirin dan hadirat yang saya hormati, Tan Sri Datuk Wira Dr. Haji Muhammad Syukur Mafta, Pengerusi Lembaga Pengarah UUM. Yang bahagia Datuk Seri Haji Mustafa Ali, Board of Directors Malaysia Institute of Integrity, and finally my dear friend from Thailand, Professor Satapon. So what we are going to do today is to have a forum consisting of 3 expert panelists. Two of them are former senior civil servants, and one is Professor from Mahidol University, Bangkok. It's also a very distinguished university in Thailand and one of the best universities in Southeast Asia. So what we are going to do is I will become the chairperson of this forum. So there will be 3 sessions. The first session will consist of 3 questions. I will ask each panelist 1 question, and then the next panelist, and then finally the third panelist. And after 3 questions, we go into second round. I will ask another question for the panelists, and the third round, the third question will be asked for the panelists. And after all the sessions are finished, then I will open the floor for Q&A. So that's basically the protocol for this forum this morning. So without further ado, first of all, I would like to introduce all our distinguished panelists for today, so the audience can have a better understanding of who are our panelists for today. I'm sure the panelists, are very prominent in their own capacity, and I'm sure all the audiences already know who are them, but just to make sure that everybody refreshes their memory, so it will be good for me to again introduce to all of you. The first panelist on my left is Datuk Sri Haji Mustafa bin Haji Ali, currently board member, Malaysia Institute of Integrity. He has a Bachelor of Art from University of Malaya, Criminal Justice from University of New Haven, Connecticut. And he joined public service in 1985 as Senior Investigation Officer at Anti-Corruption Agency, now known as Malaysia Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, hold important position in MACC, including prosecutor in Prosecution Division from 1995 to 1996, Director of Research and Planning from 2000 to 2004, Director of Investigation 2010 to 2014, Deputy Chief Commissioner Prevention of MACC 2014-2016, and in 2004 he was appointed as Deputy President of Malaysian Institute of Integrity, pioneered the establishment of Institute and formulation of National Integrity Plan, which is a very important plan for integrity. And then later on, appointed as DG of Malaysian Immigration Department from 2016 December 2018. And then lastly, as DG of National Anti-Financial Crime Center, NFCC, leading its establishment and the formulation of National Financial Crime Center Act 2019. So he is basically a prominent person and a person who has vast experiences in integrity. And my next panelist, also a very prominent, distinguished senior civil servant, Tan Sri Datuk Wira Dr. Haji Muhammad Syukur Haji Mahfar, Tan Sri was appointed as our chairman of Board of Directors UUM, effective from 2020 until now. Tan Sri began his career as bank officer in 1978. Later on, joined Inland Revenue Board (IRB) as a valuation officer, and then subsequently promoted to various senior positions, from Deputy Chief Executive Officer to Deputy CEO, before being appointed as CEO of IRB in January 2011. And throughout his tenure at IRB, Tan Sri received numerous awards and recognition, including President of Statutory Bodies Association, Chairman of Commonwealth Association of Tax Administrators, CATA, and he was also honored with the title of CEO of the Year 2015 at the European Emerging Market Awards. He received the 2015 Lifetime Achievement Award of the Asia HRD Award for his outstanding contribution to human capital development. So Tan Sri is currently our chairman of UUM board. He has a lot of experiences. I'm sure he can also share his expertise and thought with our session today. And our last panelist is Professor Satapon Rongtam from Chonburi, Thailand. Currently, he is in the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, Mahidol University, and he has distinguished work experiences working as a researcher and also in a lot of professional board. Currently, he is the Executive Board of Public Administration Association of Thailand, and he is also an expert in assessing academic work and ethics and academic ethics at Chiang Mai University Council. And he's also external experts at Graduate School Rangsit University and a lot of honorary members from many universities in Thailand. So without further ado, let's start our round for today. And my first question would be to Datuk Sri. During your tenure as Director General of Immigration, you face significant integrity challenges within a high-risk operational environment. What do you believe are the most effective strategies in addressing systemic integrity issues in enforcement-based organization? Please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning still. Thank you, Mr. Prof. Moderator, my fellow panelists, of course, Tan Sri. We have two academicians, one as moderator, one as speaker, and we have two practitioners as panelists here. And of course, to our dear audience, distinguished delegate, the question posed to me with regard to my experience in Immigration Department. I must mention here, I was with at least 5 institutions that I can always mention about how we can put integrity and governance in place. Be it, of course, it's very difficult, but it's not easy, but it's not too difficult to embrace if only we can have the collaboration and cooperation with other parties. But let me begin. Actually, I was invited very last moment, Prof. When Datuk Sri Wan Suraya couldn't make it, I was made as, in Malay they call it bidan terjun. Literally transport meaning translate kan kepada tak tahu diving midwife. Itu literally. But again, thank you for the opportunity for me to speak, even though at last minute. But to share some experiences and what need to be done, what went wrong and what need to be done. I think these two elements, if we mention about integrity, We have been saying it for almost every year, every day, every single minute. Betul? Setuju. But what went wrong? And more importantly, our next question is that what need to be done then? What need to be done? This morning we have heard our KPPA, Tan Sri Wandalan mentioned about hemat. Of course, if we put that as plan of action and we embrace it, I think that's one of the elements that we can put into place in the public administration. But what about other institutions, the society at large? We talk about schools, we talk about secondary schools, primary, and all that. The ecosystem, the enablers must be put in place. Then only we can really proud of ourselves that we are looking into it diligently. Since looking into the topic, resilience, governance, integrity in age of challenges, I made some research. Before I dwell, because I'm the first speaker, I think before I dwell with the experiences that I had, I like to read some statements with regard to resilience. And of course, during I prepared this text, I just took some key points. What we mean by resilience that we must put into place. Firstly, resilience is the ability to withstand, adapt to, and recover from difficulties, disruptions, or crises, whether at the personal, organizational, or national level. Of course, in different contexts, resilience takes more specific meanings. We can always mention about personal resilience, institutional resilience, and in broader scope, national or societal resilience is the ability of a country or community to survive shocks like pandemics. This morning also has been mentioned time and again. Issues like pandemic, economic downturn, natural disasters, geopolitical instability, etc., etc. Secondly, on governance. When we mention about governance, it always refers to the frameworks of rules, processes, and practices by which authority is exercised, decisions are made, and power is held accountable in a society, organization, or institution. I just keep some words into the phrases. You can always go to ChatGPT. You can always look into some dictionary, and But on integrity, as we all know, is the quality of being truthful, morally upright, and adhering to strong ethical principles and values. And it goes on and on and on. In a stronger notes, and I quote here, in a stronger notes, or we put it bluntly, why still there are perpetrators of corruption? Why people still doing a wrong thing rather than right thing? There is no crisis greater than the betrayal of public trust. No enemy more dangerous than the insatiable greed of those who steal from the people. Corrupt officials and complicit vendors or contractors do not simply siphon funds, they actually drain hospitals of medicines and facilities. They drain schools of resources, buildings and teaching tools. Even worse, they deny the poor of quality life, foods, houses of hopes. There again, by saying all that, come to my experience as an officer of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. Mr. Moderator mentioned just now about immigration. That's one part of it. I was made as Director General of Immigration at one point of time. I was also involved as Deputy President of Malaysian Institute of Integrity, now as board member. We always mention about integrity and governance. I was also involved in collaboration of institution, especially in particular law enforcement agency, in what we call as National Financial Crime Center. And last but not least, of course, as board member of transport company in Malaysia, Rapid Bus, Prasarana and all that. But having said all that, what has been done? Yeah, Mr. Moderator, I'm not just focusing on immigration alone, but when I speak about at least 5 institutions, what has been done to ensure the integrity, the governance, be it from the internal part, and of course we are trying to disembark to outside. In MACC, for example, to ensure the recruitment process to select people of integrity to be selected and appointed in MACC. That's of course to start with. We do all kind of processes, filtration, due diligence to ensure the one that we appointed is the best of the best that must be appointed. Kalau tidak nanti pagar magar badi, pegar magar badi. Because we imbued the slogan, always mention about independent, transparent, and just or fair. That is one, the recruitment process. For sure, in other agencies, that is a must. Mr. Moderator, please stop me if I were to speak for 3 hours. I was given 10 to 15 minutes. But on second part, and I know we believe in other institutions also do the same thing. What I mentioned here is about the law reform or administrative reform. There are a lot of reform need to be done. Of course, when we mentioned about hemat just now, it's about reform. Be it something in existence or something new that need to be put in place. What I mean by that, in MACC, for example, in 1997, during Pak Allah's time, I will lead Pak Allah, we mentioned about the oversight committee. To ensure governance and integrity from within MACC, we have that oversight body. One, by virtue of the parliament. In parliament, we have 7 members at least appointed by Yang Dipertuan Agong to be appointed as the advisory committee. We call it Anti-Corruption Advisory Board, which advise MACC and also will also advise the Prime Minister. Secondly, the Parliament's Special Committee. Just now I mentioned about Parliament's Special Committee. Secondly, the Anti-Corruption Advisory Board. There are members from external party being appointed again by Dr. Agong on the law reform part, so that they can really look into as mechanism of check and balance. We always talk about check and balance mechanism to ensure governance, good governance put in place and integrity being adopted. On the administrative reform, of course, a complaint committee also being established. On the administrative reform, I must mention the CEIO, Chief Integrity Certified Integrity Officers, throughout government agencies, especially in JLCs, has been established. Just recently, the Chief Commissioner of MACC mentioned about to put in place the integrity unit in each local council. That is also being mentioned in 2017, way back in 2017. But what happened? Of course, this is something that need to be strengthened and promoted. Coming back on the immigration department, I remember in 1st of August 2016, when I was first appointed as Director General of Immigration. Here I am as the DG of Immigration in one assembly. This is my first day. I told them, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, the MC, and I said, tuan-tuan dan puan, tuan-tuan bukan pegawai saya. You are not my officer. Everybody was stunned by my statement. Of course, they stunned. Hey, this is Director General and we are his officer. But I told them, you are not my officer. You are my family. Why I said that? To ensure governance and integrity put in place, make sure an organization we build as a family. People can say, Tan Sri as former Chief Inland Revenue, Chief Executive Inland Revenue, former. I can be named as former Director General of Immigration, former MACC Deputy Chief Commissioner. But never people said, siapa tu? Itu bekas mak saya. Ada ke? Ada siapa sini cakap apa? Tak ada kan? Nobody say that she is a former mother. So what I meant here is that kita sebutlah, kita tak boleh mendahakai seseorang ketua keluarga, abang ke ibu ke. So to build an institution like immigration, because we always know, I am from MSCC, suddenly I was asked to lead immigration department, which is a really high risk area. Really high risk area. But what needs to be done, I bring together the officers, about 15,000 of them, as a family. Here we are, we have with all the insignia, paku-paku sini banyak ni, berat badan ni, with all the ribbon, but that's not it. The chain of command is there, but more importantly, penghargaan dan juga segan kepada pemimpin. So that is the word that I use to my officer. And on the first instance, since we are talking about to ensure governance and integrity in immigration department, I told them straight to their face, I said, do not make any nonsense on wrongdoings or even corruption in immigration. We put forward a very strong statement saying that zero corruption, zero tolerance against corruption. Then only we can have that buy-in from them. If the leadership, oh okay, oh ada rasuah, oh tak apa, itu segelintir, oh tak apa, itu sikit aja. No, this is not it. When we put governance and integrity in place, we must have that strong character. And we must also adhere to what we call as one of the management guru, a stubborn consistency in pursuing our vision. What is it? I'm really stubborn in that sense. Stubborn in pursuing our vision to make immigration as zero tolerance against corruption. Perhaps sifar rasuah sukar, ya, sifar rasuah. Tetapi sifar toleransi terhadap rasuah, zero tolerance against corruption, is much more easier. But we must put that in place so that they have from within them what we call as self-regulatory. And of course, there are so many things. The border control part, the payment, the AI need to be addressed. I think that's all along we have been mentioned time and again. In NFCC, and this is also one element, the National Financial Crime Center, when we establish this center, we must have specific legislation to ensure the continuity and sustainability of that institution. If just by administrative order, perhaps when government change, perhaps when something change, the head of department change, and again different scenario happen. Why I mention this? Because when NFCC, the National Financial Crime Center, was established, I put forward the tagline, a new dimension of cooperation and collaboration. A new dimension to ensure governance and to ensure how to at least 22 agencies of law enforcement agencies come together under one roof to ensure we build the organization to start with, and also we build the enforcement and operation against the perpetrators. I just mentioned it quickly, and of course now, more importantly, NFCC is given the mandate. I was there before. We was given the mandate to set up for NFCC as asset management center. In IIM, so I mentioned just not three. In IIM, the Malaysian Institute of Integrity, what has been done? I was there in 2004 until 2020, almost 6 years. But more importantly, when we established IIM, the Institute of Integrity Malaysia, first we need to have a policy. So National Integrity Plan is a policy. We need to have plan of action. In that book, the National Integrity Plan, we have not only policies, but we have specific plan. What are the program, the initiative, what are the timeline, who are the target that we need to address. So by having that, now I am come forward after 2 decades or 20 years now, almost 21 years, yeah, since 23rd of April this year, I am already 21 years. Inshallah, please bear in mind with us, we are going to launch, of course the government will launch together initiative with the IIM, what you call as National Integrity Enculturation Strategy. NIES, Sistem Pembudayaan Integriti Nasional. A strategy that we, after 21 years, we need to really look into. What are some changes? What are the reform need to be looked into? Why I said about the NIES? Because to mention about integrity, we need to have a specific policy. We need to have a specific plan, and we have to have a specific target. Mr. Moderator, before I close my first remark at this stage, what are the 5 targets when IIM was established? The 5 targets, because in 2002, the institution was established. One of the statement made by the late Pak La, Tun Abdullah Ahmad Badawi, he said, because one of the research, we conducted research in 2002, the perception of corruption in Malaysia. One of the findings is that 31.5% students of IPTAs, the higher learning institution, says that if they have power and opportunity, they will take bribe and corruption. Setuju ke? This is 2002. Where are they now? So at that particular time, Pak La said, we need to do something. That is why the National Integrity Plan was formulated. The Malaysian Institute of Integrity was established. And here we are still talking about integrity because it needs to be speak repeatedly. We cannot say that once we said about integrity in one occasion, anybody become angel. For sure, it cannot be done like that. So we repeat and repeat. So as I mentioned, and recently, to ensure the effectiveness again, we mooted the idea of evaluation and monitoring process into the strategic plan that we are going to build. And Mr. Moderator, dah time saya belum? Boleh? Last but not least, since I mentioned just now about board, well, I was with the transport company, mentioned about Prasarana board, the rapid bus and all that. I was made as chairman of risk compliance and governance in Prasarana, also involved in audit committee. To ensure to strengthen integrity and governance, the recent part is that we must put forward risk management oversight, compliance monitoring, the corporate governance in all sectors, all institutions. The internal controls and audit must be put in place. I believe even in high learning institutions such as UUM and some others, I believe in Bomber too, we have that kind of capacity. The internal control, culture and ethics, and in Prasarana, we put forward the word speak up. Cakap. What is that? For people to speak up whenever they saw a wrongdoing. They cannot condone. Oh, tak apalah, tak mau jaga tepikan orang. That mentality, code of silence must be, it cannot be done that. We need to look into how we can really, macam Rasulullah SAW sebutlah, mencegah dengan tangan kita, jika tidak dengan lidah kita, cakap, jika tidak dengan hati kita. So what I mean here, so for people to speak up in Prasarana, we always mention for them to speak up, tell whatever wrongdoings there are, and of course action followed. Thank you very much for this session, but inshallah during our further discussion we'll try to answer questions. Sekian wabillahi taufiq. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Datuk Sri. You know, I'm sure everybody is interested in listening to all the stories because Tan Sri, Datuk Sri has so much experiences in 3 main agencies, you know, IIM, Immigration, and MCC, and then also NFCC. So there are a lot of stories that he told us that could become guidance for us, especially those who are in agencies that are enforcing a lot of rules and regulation. But there are a few things that can be taken as important. I would like to share based upon what Datuk Sri has shared earlier. You know, zero corruption is probably very hard to achieve, like what Datuk Sri has indicated so many times. And I'm sure a lot of countries, they try to eradicate corruption, but it is not possible. And one advice is zero tolerance against corruption. I think that is a very significant, to inculcate among all the civil servants that probably zero corruption is not possible, but to instill, to inculcate the spirit, to inculcate the behavior that we need not tolerate corruption. So I think that is very, very significant and important for all of us in the civil service. And then I think has vast experiences in terms of leadership skills. He has headed a lot of organization, and I'm sure with his vast experiences, he can share with us, especially on the question of resilient governance demands visionary leadership. In Tan Sri views, what are the essential leadership traits required to embed integrity within institution, especially during global crisis? So without further ado, I would like to invite Tan Sri.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Professor Ahmad Murtada, and then panelists on my right, Dr. Sri Mustafa, my friend we met before, and welcome, Sawadikap, Prof. Dr. Satapun, Rengtam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon. I already afternoon, my time. Okay, first of all, thank you very much for the organizing committee for inviting me to be one of the panelists here. All right. Today, our concentration is talk about governance and integrity. As though this is the big problem. But to me, is how I look at integrity and I put it governance. They are side by side. To me, integrity is a process. It's not it's a journey. It's not the target. Because when we say that integrity, yet now people talk about crisis, world crisis. But actually integrity started those days. And it applies to everybody, be it individually, organization, either private or government. Okay. Now people try to relate integrity, the importance of integrity with the crisis. How you managing your crisis. So I think put it this way, sometimes we want to solve the problem, but actually we want to understand what is the roots of the problem. All right. So we heard about Datuk Sri Mustafa is already mentioned about all the, I think almost every country almost every country put the emphasis of the integrity and governance. And almost every country try to learn from each other, take the best practice. So we have a very nice, what we call it, the in the organization, we may have what standard operating procedure, or in short, SOP. So mostly, I think the SOP is already embedded the elements of integrity there. Try to discourage people, okay, to beat the system. But why still happened? When I was in IRB, Inland Revenue Board, the most people scared. People scared about MACC and also IRB. So this is we are dealing with integrity every day, not only external with the taxpayer, but internally. So to me, it's how you build the trust first. So my approach when I was in IRB last time, because the question to me is more on the leadership. Okay, so I do agree with Datuk Sri Mustafa. So before we can give a best service to the public, we must put our house in order first. So I told the officer then, as a CEO, as a DG, I am your friend. I use the term friend. We are friends, The only difference that my role as a CEO and your role as my proxy. So I use the term of proxy. So to me, Mr. Moderator and ladies and gentlemen, integrity, we should use integrity as put this remark that integrity should be considered as a public property. It's a public property, you know. So everybody is as the interest there. It's not individual, but it's a public property. So if you don't follow the rules and procedure, what does it mean that? If you are the government official, you know, you're supposed to do your job according to the rules and the authority, but you do it differently with your personal interest. So that's when you try to beat the system. You throw the spana into the system. So it affects the public, not only now, but it will affect the next future generation. So I have one slide because I can see the slide at the back. Please go to the, to me, I would like to stress that the two things, the two elements important, human governance and corporate governance. Okay, most people try to put a very nice in the corporate governance, you know, or we have to update the standard operating procedure, very nice. I think almost every agency in government especially being asked, being forced to update the standard operating procedure to curb the elements of corruption, you know, the element of, you call it, loopholes, whatever loopholes there. So we have very nice SOP, but SOP is SOP. Who's going to man that SOP? It's the human. So that's why to me that the human governance is very, very important because they are the soul of this corporate governance. Yeah, otherwise it's become just window dressing. Okay, so when you talk about leadership, everybody has to play the roles. And to some extent, I just talking to the CEO of AIM just now, to judge people whether they are good or not in terms of integrity, for me lah, you know, is how they manage the time. It's time management. Time management. That's why in Islam, surah Wal As, Allah bersumpah, Wal Asri innal insana lafi khusr, demi masa. So if people can really follow the time, there is one of the integrity element from there, you know, you see. So some people say that, oh, okay, you know, oh, this is the Malaysian time, you know, supposed to be 11 o'clock, extended to 11:30. We used to say that. Well, when it comes to Western culture, oh, they are on time. So this is part and parcel of the process. So I stop there first. Give chance to our professor. Thank you very much, Mr.
Okay, thank you, Tan Sri. You know, his words of wisdoms, you know, are reverberating in us. I'm sure we could learn a lot from Tan Sri, but the takeaway that I would like to share with all of us is integrity is a process, but most importantly, like what Tan Sri said, you know, integrity is about human capability to make sure that we follow the time. So time management is very important. It is part of integrity. Human governance is more important than corporate governance, like what Tan Sri said. And so I strongly agree with that, Tan Sri. I'm sure there will be a lot more wisdom that will be coming from Tan Sri later on. Probably in the second or third round, we will be hearing more from Tan Sri because his vast experiences leading Inland Revenue Board is something that we, of course, wanted to learn. But we will go next to third panelist, Professor Satapon, a good friend of mine from Mahidol University. He has heard, you know, experiences from practitioners, but now we have the opportunity to learn from someone who is in the academia, talking about the issue of integrity. So the question that I pose to you, Prof, is what governance best practices from Thailand that can be adapted by countries in Asian, especially to strengthen institutional resilience and public integrity. Please.
Okay, thank you, Professor Matada. Thank you, UUM, to inviting me to the great opportunity to talking my research idea to you. Sincerely, I start my research, and I like to share my research about how in Thailand we start talking about integrity and what can we do, and in terms of the academic, how can we develop. So this is my purpose of the research. So today I talking about like a research report. So something is boring, sorry. And of course that I like to starting about the topic of my presentation today, academic integrity governance. I try to apply to the topic, the main topic of this conference. I agree with both of you, Professor. When we talk about cheating, when we talk about corruption, we're starting talking about how can we deal with it, with the regulation and the protocol and other activity that you can learn, you can thinking about, and you can copy from the other countries to apply into your countries. But for my country, in my country, Thailand, we start learning about the failure of the anti-corruption measures. And we try to think about how can we fail? How can we fail? We have a good measures. We have a lot of public organization to counter the corruption or the cheating in public services. We have a lot, I think the same as Malaysia. But how and why? This is my question. I think I agree with Professor that we have to bring our back to the normal. We have to think about what's going on about the process of human development. Because we have a lot of tools, but our people cannot learn and use that effectively. So this is why we start to do research to develop some kind of how can we teach our students. So I'm back to the university because it's my responsibility. How can we adjust the ecosystem of university to deal and to develop our students to run academic works honestly? This is my research. I start my research like this. So after I jump into this field, I starting with the survey, like I said to you. Last 2 years, I starting surveying about academic dishonesty in university students throughout the countries. I start collecting data from 6 universities. The information or data I show is very surprising to me. In terms of the knowledge and understanding or vision, the students know about the bad thing of the corruption and the cheating. But ironically, convert into the practice, they accept that we do quite often. So you can see the data, this is like a contrast starter. In terms of the knowledge, very good, very best. It's allowed 80%, 90% from the 100% they know. But in terms of the practices, they accept that they do that. So this is the topic that I like to start to learning and studying how to deal with this problem. So I come back to start about learning in terms of academic integrity. The term of academic integrity is not just the meanings, but it's talking about how can we develop our student, teach the student. So the way of educational system must to be, it's my personal review, must to be changed from teaching to developing. So that's why that I think that when we talking about how can we develop the governance, the good governance, we have to start from the people. And the people like me, all of us in the state, we are old people. So we have start to the young generation and not just teach them that what is bad, what is good, what is not good, but we have to teach or talk to them to think what should we do, and let them start thinking about what they should do. This is the other process that my research try to do. So we come back to change from the beginning. We starting from the bachelor degree student in Thailand, my study. After we survey and we get the information, the data, we start to consult with the university from the USA. In the USA, there is one organization, international organization, to run about academic integrity. What we call its name is International Center for Academic Integrity, or ICAI. And ICAI said to me about the way that they think that better than. It informed me about we have to change the curriculum. We have to change the teaching technique, and of course that we have to change the regulation of the university. This is a big challenge that this is a policy approach to talk about the Thailand government, and now I try to do research to report this one to the Thailand government as well. First thing that we have to talk about is we have to believe that everyone can be developed. Human is only one kind of animal in the world that can develop themselves. So we have to trust that human can develop. But I'm sorry I'm talking in the university, but I think that the methodology of teaching in university right now is outdated for the new generation. I'm not sure about, because at the back line is on university as well. I asking to talk to running my project by survey, and then I went to the university, around 12 university in Thailand, throughout the country, and start talking about the rector, vice rector, or maybe the executive level of university, and the university union leaders, the student as well. So when I start doing research, I realized that in terms of the university in Thailand, we have a lot of things to do. For example, we have academic student development program, student development organization. We have a curriculum we have the subject about anti-corruption as well to teach in the class. But in terms of the student, university student, they thought that this just we already know, but how can we practice? So the opportunity of practice to anti-corruption is narrowed down because of, when you study, you are a university student, you have to get a good grade, you have to pass examination, and in Thailand it's around 120 and more credit that you have to pass. So they have spent a lot of time to reading, going to exam, doing report, do research. But the main question is, every examination has the deadline. And when students learn that, realize that they have to send the report on time, but they have around 20 reports that they have to send within a week, for example. What do you think? They cannot do anything. They cannot do it real time to submit on time. So what the student think about? Whatever that can help me to submit the report, that is the first thing that they have to do. So my question is, this is the mistake of the student or the mistake of the system? This is the big question. And when the student learn that, oh, this is an effective way, they can get the good grade, the A+, because they stolen the plagiarism, stolen the project from their friend and submit, and they can get a good grade. So why not? The next time, if we have a chance, we will do that. And this will be our behavior. So this is my lesson learned from my research, that some students report to me directly, they accept that they do this because of they have no time. And of course that they don't understand what the teacher talking about in the class. So when you don't understand what I'm talking about, two ways, forget it, and the second way, find a way to understand, making understand. So some of them try the way to do something to understand my talking. And this is the cause of why the student choose something true or false. This is my starting point. And so when I realize about this problem, I try to discuss with the professor in US and ICAI and about how can we deal with this situation, because it's out of my responsibility. I think that we have a lot of work, professor like me and you, we have a lot of work to do, but we cannot take care of all our students all day, 24 hours, 7 days a week. No, we cannot do that. So this is why we have to talk about how university can adjust themselves to support students, to protect them, not just for waiting for someone make something mistaken, misconduct, and punish them. I don't believe in punishment system. I believe in the development, prevention system. How can we prevent? Of course that it takes too long time to finish, to achieve the goal. But in terms of sustainability, it's worth it. So this is my question. Then I discussed with ICAI, and ICAI give me some tools. I will present you after this. A tool that ICAI sent to me is, okay. Easy lay. Okay, talking about too much about this one already. The tool that ICAI give to me and I apply to my research is called Academic Integrity Rating System, or AIRS, or we call AIRS. The Academic Integrity Rating System is about this is just I talking about this one already.
1 more minute, Prof.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will back to you after this, and when I going find my presentation. But after this, I will show you about what is the academic integrity rating system and how can Thailand apply it one, and what is the solution of the application. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Satapon. What is interesting is that he echoes what Tan Sri had said earlier about human development. And what is interesting, like what Dr. Sri said, there was one time when the survey was conducted among university students, and majority of them indicated that they are willing to engage in corruption. So similar to what Prof. Satapon said, students they are being taught a lot of good things, a lot of the danger about corruption and so on, but still, they whenever they go out, they still engage in corruption. So like what Datuk Sri has indicated earlier, it becomes a scary phenomenon when our university graduates are willing to engage in corruption. Despite all the fact that they are being taught corruption is a bad thing, but whenever they go out, they still believe that it is something they would like to do, what Datuk Sri had indicated earlier. And this is also interesting, Datuk Sri, because we have heard and we have witnessed so many cases where a lot of people engage in corrupt activities, like procurement, vendor selection and things like that. So now probably more interesting for you, Datuk Sri, the question of you have been serving on a lot of GLCs. What are the key governance risks that you observe in such entities? Like what I had mentioned, for example, procurement issues, vendor selection, issues like a lot of people, are discussing how we could enhance the vendor process, the tender process, because of the corruption issues, and also in relation to political pressure. Is it anything to do with political pressure, and how do you think GLC should take action in terms of reducing all the corrupt activities? Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for that question, some remarks. But before I mention on that the GLCs and whatnot, I'd like to reiterate what has been mentioned by Prof just now about sometimes we just tell the youth, students, what we want them to listen, but we never listen to them. Betul ke? Ada students ni tak? We told them, now look, you must listen to us, but we never let them speak so that we can hear their voice. Why I mention this? We need to also hear their voices using their own language, especially when we talk about in current IT, AI or technology era. They are the experts, so-called. Yeah. So my simple point is that we must listen to all this party and to this youth especially, and then we give some guidance and whatnot. But coming back to JLC, your last point just now, whether on their political pressure, I don't remember there is any political pressure in Prasarana or when I'm chairing Rapid Bus Board. But what I must mention here, of course, there are risks. Yeah, risks in terms of procurement you mentioned, risks in terms of the stock clearance, the enterprise risk. We are talking about compliance gap and whatnot. Of course, these are something that we need to address. I know here we are, be it whether you are a student or perhaps you are with the academic line or some government agency. But in corporate culture, one that we must address and also from throughout any organization is the tone from the top. Is it tone from the top? The number one in any organization, be it the CEO, go to the COO, the CFO, the financial part, and everybody. That's why I mentioned just now about speak up. We don't care who they are. As long as they saw something wrongdoing happen, corruption, for example, even though sometimes it's only hearsay, but we need to at least address it. Yeah, even though it's only hearsay, at least we listen. If that is hearsay, but keep on repeated, I think something wrong somewhere that we need to address. And that is why in procurement, for example, we look into the whole processes. I remember when Tan Sri Shukr mentioned just now about SOP. Yes, we need to ensure the SOP intact. We need to really embrace in terms of all the processes put in place. If not, there are certain gaps that still need to be filled. And the vacuum of having that is the weaknesses. When the weaknesses is not addressed,
it will keep on, it will keep on going and going, and it will become something very big, a cancerous thing. And after that, when it's become cancerous, very difficult to, we also mentioned what prevent is better than cure, right? So this is something, well, that's on the procurement part. On the financial issue, well, I was with the audit committee. I believe we are in the financial sector. We know for a fact what we need to look into. The red flags, for example, the red flags. If something happen in terms of the whole processes that need to be addressed quickly, without delay, immediately, without any process delay, we must address it. If not, it keep on coming. Yeah, there are certain things happen in the organization, but more importantly, how quick we take action, how fast we ensure without compromise in terms of the procedure. We never compromise. That's why I mentioned just now, earlier in my statement. No nonsense. For me, in immigration, for me, even in corporate sector now, I'm not really corporate sector figure, but because I joined the corporate sector, I know. No nonsense. That's it. I always maintain that composure in me and put to the employee. We have about 13,000 employees in Prasarana. What it mentioned is that speak up and put in place self-regulatory. Put the policeman within. We are not policemen, right? But what I mentioned is that put the policeman within, meaning to say the internal control mechanism that need to be embraced by everybody, every one of the employees. The first thing I mentioned is not tone from the top. Top, bottom, bottom up. From bottom up, we need to say, if they saw something wrong, they need to speak up. Make the organization as their own enterprise. Yeah? Make the organization, the company as their own enterprise. Then only the sense of belonging, saying that we cannot condone this. We must do something. If not, I mentioned earlier, it's cancerous. Yeah? And of course, one more thing is the trust. Stakeholder trust and transparency is a must. What I mean by transparency? Of course, in investigation, when I was the Director General and the Director of Investigation, we are not saying that transparent in the sense that we disclose, we expose who has been that's different kind of exposure. But what I mean on transparency is that our stakeholder, our vendors, our contractors knew the processes. Both parties knew about the processes, so there is no hiding. There's no, something that they do not, there's something mischievous. Do we need to do that? We need to pay something? So when we are really transparent, because of the SOP is there, when the manual procedure so-called are put in place, and that comes the trust part. When we talk about trust, stakeholder trust, then only company can grow even further. The company, the well-being of the company, the well-being of the organization, the well-being, and to start with, the well-being of the employees. Yeah. So very quickly, I mentioned just now about tone from the top, and of course, the trust, the transparent manner, and the enterprise risk must be really managed. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Datuk Sri, for all the important information. I really like the idea put forward by Datuk Sri in terms of speaking up culture. You know, I'm sure in a lot of public organization, it's not something that we do. So probably it's something that we have to ponder whether or not this is something we have to practice, you know. And also address all the wrongdoing. I think this is also important. Don't wait for the wrongdoing to take place to become cancerous, like what Datuk Sri said. And I think it goes back to what Tan Sri also mentioned earlier, character building, right? Self-regulated is something that is more important than having all the regulation, SOP, Tan Sri said, even though we have all the beautiful SOPs, but it goes back to individual. If individuals don't feel these rules and regulation need to be adhered to, so they don't really care about all these rules and regulations. So it goes back. Prof. Satapon also said about character development. Datuk Sri also said. Now let's move on. As chairman of UUM, Tan Sri sure has a lot of things to share with us. For you, Tan Sri, how can universities, as leaders and future talent incubators, play a more active role in institutionalizing governance resilience and promoting ethical decision-making among young leaders?
This is very theoretical question. I think some of the that question is already touched by Professor just now. So I think they start nurture the character is at the university's level, school's level. All right. So first and foremost, I would like to share with the audience about the ABC: attitude, behavior, and culture. We always mention integrity, governance, fine. But to me, that is one day that we want to have a dream that the culture is corruption's zero corruption. That's the culture. But to address that culture, we must start from the attitude individually. Individually, there's no, it's not a choice. Everybody have to take the responsibility. So attitude. If everybody, the attitude is right, then of course, in that community, you can see the behavior. Okay? When the behavior of that community is good, then it's become a culture. To me, that is how we embedded the seriousness of the integrity of zero corruption. Okay, it's simple. Yeah, I don't want to be to talk about too theoretical. That one I think you can read it from the literature. But in terms of practical experience, okay, just now we mentioned, Datuk Sri Mustafa also mentioned about SOP. I also did mention about SOP. But the problem is this, the problem of this SOP, sometimes the way that we drafted the law or drafted the SOP, at the end of the day, nobody dare to understand. We are using a very bombastic word. I give you a good example, my experience in inland revenue. One of the favorite section, we always argue, with taxpayer wholly and exclusively incurred in the production of gross income. To the layman, when they read, they don't understand what it means. But when public or taxpayer challenge the RB say that, oh no, how we interpret wholly means this one, exclusively means this one, in as again for the production. So at the end of the day, the law become very ambiguous. You create ambiguity. So if your SOP is too complicated, it's very difficult to enforce the law. And this is the time whereby the smart people, okay, try to beat the system. So SOP is SOP, but sometimes it's how to simplify the word. So this is very subjective. I don't have a very good example to tell you that. Okay, so it's how you see. That's why now government, our PMX is already announced that to revisit all the government secular entities so that they are up to date. Means to say that it's much easier to understand. And now, as I mentioned during our board meeting, we want the management in UUM to look into the ease of doing business. Ease doesn't mean that to let go, no. Doesn't mean that is to let go. Okay, the problem is this. This is a crisis, This is a crisis. When you are too strict, when you are too strict to read everything according to the book, A is A, B is B, fine. It's become what? Red tapes. No, very rigid. Then you create a little Napoleon. When there is a little Napoleon created, then a smart people try to beat the system. Then the integrity issue is there. So that's why I say that this is crisis, you know. You do something in silo, then create another problem. And sometimes you say that, follow my instruction. Don't follow the SOP. Also problem. That's why now the challenge of the bosses. You have to send a right signal to your subordinate. Because I tell, to me, you must say that we must be clean, but must be also sin clean. You cannot say that, oh, I'm clean. Must be sin clean. This is the crisis. And then sometimes when it comes to decision making, also involve integrity. Always people say that, why decision making? If you are too strict, you are too rigid. Oh, cannot. Oh, cannot. According to the book. Yeah, the book is guidance. If not within your power, you have to refer to your superior. You know, because at the front desk, you have limited power. It's not within your power, you have to put your submission to your manager, to the superior. But if the superior also thinking like a desk officer, then jam. Why? Because the system is very rigid. But to me, there's no tolerance in that. You can be follow the SOP, but must be firm. Firm versus rigid is very difficult to draw a fine line, Datuk Sri. You know? Okay, some bosses, they refuse to make decision at all. No, cannot. But I want promotion. All right, this is crisis. So, the challenge now, to me, as a boss, as a superior, or leadership role, the leaders must show that you are mean business. When you talk about integrity, when you talk about a governance, okay, you must send a right message to your subordinate that to adhere to these rules, you must be voluntary compliance. Okay. Of course, at one stage that you force people to comply, but in the long run, it's voluntary compliance. I like to use the term of compliance because my background, 36 years as a tax officer, Prof. So when we're dealing with taxpayer, we say that you don't comply. So in integrity, in governance also, we should use the term of compliance. You know, if you don't comply, non-compliance, so we punish you. You know, because comply not enough, but not only you comply, but you must confirm the standard. So compliance and conformance, it takes two to tango. So I would like to approach to conclude my statement for this round. That leadership role to have to take two-pronged strategy. First is a carrot approach, whereby that you have a system, awareness, okay, rewarding, and engagement. And the other one, of course, stick approach. Okay, you cannot tolerate with those. You have to take disciplinary action, must be in time. Don't wait until next year or the following year. Because when it comes to disciplinary action, this is a criminal action. Okay? And apply demerit system. Of course, you become a bad boy. You're not popular, you know. Doesn't mean that being a good leader, you must be popular all the time. No, you must be seen also a bad boy. I've been seen a bad boy as a chairman of, you know, because I'm telling, oh, this chairman very strict. Yes, I'm proud to say that. You know, I'm proud to say that. People say that, oh, you are strict. Yes, I'm doing my part. So I think as far as integrity and governance, it's back to the attitude. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Tan Sri. Very wise word indeed. You know, a lot of things that we can learn from Tan Sri, among other things, like SOP, like what Tan Sri said, it boils down to the leadership. whether the leadership wanting to be popular or leadership wanting to enforce the rules and regulation. So there is a difference between firm and rigid. Sometimes leaders tend to be so firm or so rigid that don't really give way to flexibility. But to what extent flexibility can be allowed, so that work can be done more smoothly and effectively. So that's a question that we need to discuss later on. And also, two strategies that are being put forward by Tan Sri is the fact that in leadership we have to apply the carrot and stick approaches, make sure that we deal with our workers in a way that they will follow all the rules and regulation, and then we reward them whenever they comply with the rules and regulation. But whenever they don't, we have to take punishment so that they learn from the leadership that these are the things that they cannot do to make sure that organization can be run smoothly. Again, thank you. So next question is Professor Satapon. How can Asian and global network of governance practitioners collaborate more effectively to address transboundary governance challenges such as corruption and digital risk?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. And before we go to the question, to respond to the question, I like to have a question to asking all of you in this room. If the engineering graduate by cheating, yet now is building the big building. If the doctor cheating when they study, how can you trust that the doctor can treat you integrity effectively? This is a big problem that I realize that we have to start to come back to university, to the classroom, and how to adjust the classroom to teach our students and promote them to work integrity. This is a big problem. So in Thailand, we have a lot of cases that about the doctor cannot treat mistreatment, something like that. In the last few months, in an earthquake, you can see in the news, you can have the big building collapsing. And but because of the corruption, because of the cheating of the engineer who take in charge. So how can we make sure, that our new generation, our new workers to going out when you graduate from the university and take in charge to lead our society to be the better society. So we have to start thinking about how can we reconstruct our idea to formulate our new generation. So this is my question about when somebody said about how can we destroy one nation. It's only easy way is destroy the education system. Let the education system fail, then you can destroy the nation. This is the truth. So when we talk about how can we governance, make a governance in terms of the integrity in this conference, is really good question that we have to talk about. So I'd like to respond to the question of the moderator. Is how can we construct, how can we develop? This one. Okay, on the screen, we set up the network of academic integrity study in South Asia already. We call ASEAN Academic Integrity Networking, or AAIN. This is set by my project, and I invite some of my friends to making a seminar in Bangkok last January. And I think when we thinking about how can we construct the ecosystem in international works, So we have to start in terms of the networking. So this is the example that I like to respond to Professor Matada. But now we have the declaration in South Asia already, and we will use this networking to study together and doing some research together in the next future. This is my answer to your question. For example, in this networking, we try to conduct some research. You can see your university as well in the UUM is a partner of this declaration of the network already. So we're starting to talking to USAID, to the ICAI. How can we develop a research proposal in Southeast Asia countries to study together how to improve the academic integrity under the context of each country. I think when we start talking about the networking, we have not just only one way to study, but we have just one core concept, but we can decentralize the idea to study automatically to respond to the context of these countries. And finally, we can come back to start talking together and report something to the society. I think this is the answer that I try to respond to you, Professor. This one.
Thank you very much, Prof. Satapon. It's very interesting, the idea that we need to inculcate these values where if students feel that the good values they can learn from the university can be transferred when they go out and work in the environment, then that could be good, because as of right now, what they learn is probably something that they don't really apply whenever they go out and work. So probably more academic collaboration can be done and explored between countries in ASEAN to look into ways in which we could improve integrity among students so that whenever they go out in the working world, they can practice what are being taught in the classroom. Again, thank you very much, Prof. Satapon. So we are nearly the end of our forum. I think we have 5 more minutes for Q&A. So I would like to open the floor for question and answer. If you want to ask question, please state your name and state your question as short as possible, because we want to give 2 or 3 questions for the panelists to answer. So I open the floor now. Any question? Oh, yeah, we have 1. Okay, 2. Go ahead, sir. State your name and the question.
My question is with regards to we've had a lot of issue with regards to the issue of integrity, and we have seen how integrity have been moved now to even to the academics. But one thing I didn't hear is with regards to the issue of integrity in the home. Integrity also from the first school starts from the home. So I think the issue of integrity should also be imbibed. Parents should also be, this kind of program should also be kind of organized for the parents with regards to this issue of integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Second question.
Afternoon. My name is Karibu Hainasidi. There are a lot of efforts by Malaysian government through some institutions like Malaysian Corruption Commission, Whistleblower Protection Act, like that. But despite this effort, there are a lot of corruption scandals because the position of Malaysia in international corruption protection index is fluctuating because of the cases of corruption in procurement, law enforcement, etc. So the question is that, what are the major challenges that cripple such efforts? Thank you.
Interesting question.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. So my name is Amirul Iksan from the School of Computing. So my question would be, so in recent times, if you did a sentiment analysis in social media, one of the keyword that presumed to be creep up would be nepotism. So please, the panelists, if you could, in your own expert area, how can you justify nepotism in the professional sectors? Why or why not can it be justified, whether or not it's positive or negative? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we have 3 questions. So what I would like to do is to ask each of the panelists to try to answer if they feel that they wanted to answer the 3 questions. If not, just focus on question that you want to answer. Thank you.
So I'm the fortunate one to answer first. You mentioned about family and parents. I didn't mention about ecosystem. Yeah, you are very, very right. We need to look into ecosystem. When we talk about at school, there is formal study, there is formal education, right? When we talk about tertiary, primary, and then up secondary, up to universities, there is really formal institution. But what about the informal institution, whereby our kids for 8 hours they are at home, especially during weekends. Throughout the day they are at homes. The community, the society, the ecosystem need to be really conducive. If not, in Malay, perhaps you can translate it later. Kalau cikgu kencing berdiri, anak murid kencing berlari. You see, when people try to teach baby crab to walk straight, while the parent crab is not walking straight. Itu translation dalam. There again, the ecosystem is not conducive. We need to say we need to do something. Well, again, we have had all kind of plan, strategy, initiative. For example, in the National Integrity Plan that I mentioned earlier, it was launched in 23rd April 2004. Until now, it's 21 years ago. But still, we need to address it repeatedly. We could collaborate with Kementerian Wanita, with the Ministry of Women's Family Institution. We collaborate with all parties in terms of what needs to be done. What else needs to be done? Because when we said something needs to be done, there are a lot of more opportunity that we need to address. Yeah. So meaning to say, yes, I mentioned earlier about youth. We always teach them, you shouldn't do this, you should do this, but we never listen to them. So we need to hear their voice, so that we understand their voices. We use their peer group to ensure the integrity part from their group is really intact. Very brief. In terms of the ranking, CPI, well, true. I was with the MACC. I remember 1995, the first time CPI, the Corruption Perception Index, was established and was announced by TI, or Transparency International. We sent our officer to Berlin, because TI, Transparency International, based in Berlin. I myself, at least twice, I went to Berlin to discuss with the president, at one time with Peter Eigen. He's the president of TI. We challenged the index. Why we challenge the index? We need to understand what are the mechanisms, what are the characteristics, what need to be done. And you are right, we try our level best to do the same. But again, integrity is not about corruption alone. We talk about integrity, we talk about the whole ecosystem again. The family institution, so that's why in National Integrity Plan, we have 5 targets. Yeah, in the first phase of our endeavor. One, we talk about how to really minimize corruption. At least, not to say zero corruption, minimize. Secondly, when we talk about corruption, it's one thing, but what about the public service delivery system? The government machinery are they still, we talk what bureaucracy, red tapes that we need to really look into? Because again, the red tape, the bureaucracy boils to people like Tansi mentioned about a little Napoleon. Why? Because they use and abuse the system. They use and abuse the system because there are always opportunity. Yeah. So again, yeah, but the CPI, the Corruption Perception Index, not only talk about corruption, they talk about freedom of media, talk about judiciary system, talk about human rights issue. So all the pillars in that component need to be addressed too. Last but not least, talk about nepotism. Yeah, our colleague mentioned whether on positive and negative. For sure, nepotism negative. For sure, there's no way, no two way about it. Adakah boleh? Tak apalah pilih kasih, pilih bulu. No way. I was with the MSDC for more than 30 years. I said, whenever we talk cronyism, nepotism, this is the last thing to happen. But how to deal with it? How to ensure people do not take personal interest as their ultimate point. Yeah, we talk about public interest first. We are not talking about self-interest. Oh, this, what if I were to introduce this? What is there for me? That is the last thing to happen. Well, as government officer, even in corporate sector, we are being paid our salary, our bonuses, and our allowances. But for whatever that we did, the public first. How to ensure this being really imbued in the society? That is the question. That's why we go deep-rooted, we deep dive to the school, to the system that I mentioned, the ecosystem in public, so that they understand whatever we do, we need to look into public interest first. How to deal with it? The system put in place, the SOP or whatnot, whatever system they are, we know for the fact there are input, process, output, outcome for a certain thing. So now we are talking about the outcome. If that can be embedded in each and every one individual, I think Malaysia, even globally, will be a better place to live in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Okay. Yeah. I think Datuk Sri Musafar has already answered all the questions. But what I want to conclude about today's discussion is always back to attitude. And as I mentioned just now, attitude should be integrity should be treated as a public property. When you say that public property, it belongs to everybody at every level. Okay, so yeah, there's no reason to say that, oh no, it's not me. No, it belongs to everybody. So, Mr. Moderator, please allow me just to show my last slide. I'm not going to explain, but just to share with the audience about the governance universe. Okay, so this is very applicable. Very applicable. If you see that this is a governance universe, first of all, the first question is asked, are you authorized to do that? If not your authority, don't do that. They started with the authority and followed by the others. Yeah, so I'm not going, for the interest of time, then I'm going to elaborate, but we have another session later on yeah, to offer you. Okay, so yeah, so I would like to conclude that. Now I end my presentation with the issue of the governance. Okay, governance is never-ending story. Okay, then, now, and forever. Never give up and don't give up. Good luck. Thank you.
Okay, last but not least, for my presentation, I'm back to the nepotism. From my research, one of the big burden for develop the integrity in Thai culture, in Thai society, is the culture. When we judge what is good or bad for nepotism, it depends on the culture of the nation as well. Because nepotism is defined, defined by the Western culture. When you combine the Western culture into the Eastern culture, sometimes we have to misspelling about this one. But I'm not quite sure about it's good or bad, but it is a big problem of the culture differentiation. However, if we try to set up the integrity, so we have to trust that what should the nepotism do and can create a good thing, have to create the better opportunity for the people in the society. For example, back to my research for a bit, the AI, generative AI. Somebody asked me quite a lot about how can we trust in AI? Can we allow AI into the classroom and allow the student to use it freely? I think, why not? The AI is not just only bad thing, but it can make the student can cheat easily. No, I think it is a tool for support the education system, but we have to use it wisely. It depends on our definition, how can we apply it, and how can we protect it to do something misconduct. I think it depends on the culture. Then I think I cannot respond to your question directly, but when I start to run my research, the culture is a big burden that we have to overcome. That's it only my answer.
Thank you. So before I conclude, I would like to give 1 minute to each of the panelists to give a parting word so that each audience that attends to this session can learn something valuable. So first, Prof. Satapon, 1 minute, your parting word.
Okay. Yes, like I said before, that academic integrity is not just the compulsory methods. We can think it in terms of the promotion method as well. And if we think in terms of the promotion or prevention method, I think it will create the better result than ever, I think.
I think I did mention already just now. So as far as integrity and governance, is never-ending process. So never give up. Okay, keep it up, and you should be the hero for the future generation. Thank you.
I started my talk just now by standing, so departing statement also I stand. Not 1 minute, but I have 1 minute and 29 seconds. You see, when we talk about description just now, nepotism, description, or in Malay word disebut budi bicara. Budi is the description, cara is the SOP, cara. So budi bicara, the description plus SOP, we merge them together, budi bicara. Not to say nepotism, but we're talking about the whole system. But my statement here, I like to read my text that I prepared, talk about integrity, governance, and resilient parts. Let us be the leaders and champions who do not wait for the storm to pass, but who prepare for the next one with clarity and courage. Let us build systems that do not just deliver services, but inspire trust. Let us uphold integrity, not because it is easy, but because it is right. Together, let us shape our world where resilience is not rare, where governance is not corruptible, and where integrity is the legacy we leave behind us. To conclude, let me say this: in an era marked by pandemics, climate emergencies, geopolitical tensions, digital disruptions, and socio-economic inequality, the resilience of institutions and societies hinges on effective governance and uncompromising integrity. Therefore, the three elements that we have been talking about: resilience, governance and integrity is a must. It really intersect each other, and one will strengthen the other to create sustainable system which are capable of withstanding shocks while preserving democratic values and public trust. Sekian wabillahi taufiq. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Datuk Sri. So we have come to a conclusion of our forum. Before I end the forum, let me just wrap up a little bit what we have been discussing. I have been tasked to conduct a forum, talks about integrity and resilient organization, and all the three panelists have talked, even though briefly, but they have given us profound remarks on how important integrity is in terms of character building, how integrity translates into resilient organization. I think that's the key word here, that whenever we build integrity, integrity in the end can produce a long-lasting, resilient organization. I think that's the overall theme of the discussion that all the three panelists have given to us. They have given wise words beyond what we could imagine, in this short period of time. But in spite of that, let us all give a big round of applause to all distinguished panelists. And on behalf of the organizer, I also would like to thank everyone here who stays until the end of the session. Even though the lunchtime is already past a few minutes ago. We are supposed to stop at 1. It's already 1:11. So anyway, thanks everyone. Thanks the organizer. Thanks all the panelists. And thanks all the distinguished guests who are here to listen to the forum. And with that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Yang Berusaha Prof. That's the end of our session this morning until afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and VVIPs, you may enjoy the lunch provided at the restaurant Brewing Inn. So you may leave this hall. Thank you so much. And give a big applause to our moderators and panels here.